name is Lauren Hollows from NOI Education Services, and today I am lucky enough to be joined by Shashi Hodge from the Eduworks. You may also know her from the RTO Advice Group and from the RTO Recruitment Group. We will get into all of that, but we are continuing on with our education series. And in line with all of our other interview series, we have had AI write our introduction. So welcome to the podcast featuring Shashi, an industry expert in the vet sector with a career spanning over 2 decades. She's made significant contributions to the field, playing a pivotal role in establishing the award-winning RTO and holding various managerial positions, ensuring operational education and compliance. In 2009, she co-founded the RTO Advice Group, where she has helped numerous clients with RTO setup, operational management, and audits. She's also the driving force behind Eduworks Resources, renowned for creating top-notch training materials. As the CEO of Eduworks Resources and RTO Advice Group, Shashi leads the company's day-to-day operations. Join us as we delve into her expertise and insights in the vet sector. How did it go?
That was pretty good. AI did well. I think it writes a way better intro about me than I do. So loved it. It's good, accurate.
All right, awesome. And so obviously, you've got a whole bunch of titles, you've got a whole load of groups. You guys have been around for a long time. So tell me what is happening across all of your operations, the RTO Advice Group, Eduworks, etc.
Yeah, okay, cool. I think, well, that leads into something that we've been working on over the past little while, and that is because we're known by a number of names and brands. We are trying to amalgamate that into a new brand and we're not losing Eduworks. We're not losing what we've built up all over these years. We're just trying to consolidate and not be known by so many names. So probably by the time this video comes out, we will have launched that new brand. And when I'm introduced, I don't have to have all of the names that that I have and that people might know me by.
And I imagine that's just part of like general business streamlining operations. It's going to make that component of it a little bit easier as well, because I would imagine running so many different companies, different umbrellas and everything like that, there's just a huge amount of, administrative workload that goes into that as well.
Yeah, we do run as one group. So it's more, just how we're seen in the industry, and also knowing, our Eduworks, because we've got the two brands. Some clients might come to Eduworks for resources, not realise that we do all the consulting and recruitment services that we've done forever, and vice versa. So we're just combining it so that it's really clear from anyone coming to see us that we can help you with resources, but we can also help you with consulting and compliance as well. So that'll be good for clients, and us being able to help not only with the resources, but in the audits and ongoing compliance projects
just being
as
able
well.
to provide kind of end-to-end resources, because effectively you are kind of that one-stop shop of being able to help with recruitment and being able to help with the compliance side of things, and also being able to provide training and assessment resources that are compliant. So yes,
yeah, and resources is definitely the larger part of our business, but we started out in consulting. We have a lot of clients that have used us over the years for a whole range of projects, and we have dedicated teams for each area and service. But yes, we do like to be able to help RTOs and our clients, TAFEs, across the broad range of things they need help with in day-to-day running.
And so, as you said, it is a large part. Eduworks is a large part of your business, and you guys have put a huge emphasis. I noticed, particularly in the last couple of years, just really developing these beautiful, polished, online resources and RISE files and SCORM files and things like that. Can you tell me, kind of talk to us a little bit about that process and everything that's gone into that, and what motivates you guys, and how you run that part of the business? Because it's a huge task to be able to build something that looks good, but is also, meets all of the requirements and the challenges, especially in the last last year, with so many of the training packages
Yeah.
updating. How do you run that part of it all?
It's a big operation with many people involved in making sure that our concepts and design that we our intention behind the resources comes out at the other end. I think it's something that when taking on the development of resources, and then different from if you're writing them from your own RTO, but when they're going out to many RTOs, it's a big feat, I guess. And that's why when I started Eduworks back in 2009, we concentrated on what the market needed at the time, which was really good quality assessment. Whenever we wanted to produce resources, we didn't want to do anything half in halves. If we were putting it out, it needed to be the best quality design. So that's how we started with assessment and pairing up with textbooks or existing content that even some of our clients had already. But the assessment was where it always fell down. But then I think because we grew in size and recognition in the industry over those years. It was maybe around 2019 or 2018 or something that we decided to get into learner guides, writing the learning content now to marry up with our assessments, and then not long after that go into e-learning. So I say that we had written a few learner guides before that. We wrote the TAE 10, for example, because there wasn't a lot out there. But yeah, we decided that if we're developing a new suite of products or resources, then we'll do the whole lot now. But we wanted to make sure we had clients that would buy it, the capital to put into it, so that it did look and feel good. It was something that students wanted to read, trainers wanted to use, RTOs were proud of. So I definitely waited from launching into that space, even though I had a lot of pressure from clients, consultants, everyone over the years we don't just want assessments, we want the learning content as well. But I just didn't feel like the business, we could do that to the level that I would want to put them out at.
And I don't think people understand like the amount of time and effort that goes into, like, even just because it's not just a matter of, okay, well, let's hit this PC. Let me just write a paragraph on that. This PC, right? There's a lot of thought that goes into the design of actually creating a unit that makes sense from a training materials perspective.
Yeah. So we spend a lot of time planning our content flow, structure of the program at the start. So not only the program, but also then each unit or cluster, depending on what we're writing. So we also like to write holistically. So like you said, it's not PC by PC. We actually unpack the unit, understand what's the flow of the content that's going to make the most logical sense for the student, scaffolding, all that stuff that we like to plan. And we've had to, refine our planning processes over the years for each unit and each piece of content. But then also setting it up if we're designing a new qualification, really making sure that we have thought about who the learners are, how are they going to study this course, what type of clients will we get? We'll probably get workplace-based clients. We'll get, RTOs that deliver in the workplace, RTOs that deliver in class. Do we need a simulated organisation? We set all of that up from the start, and we have our, bring in subject matter experts, lots of meetings and planning, processes, and then a few months in of the planning, then we're ready to start. And then once we've started, we've got so many pieces to put together. We've got the learning content, We've got the assessments, we've got the session materials, we've then got e-learning, and we've got dedicated teams to do all of those pieces of work, including reviewing each part, and it often goes back and forth between our review team and our developers. And then eventually, a couple of months later, from starting a unit or a cluster, it comes out the other end. Yeah.
And then clients want it, and then clients wonder why, it's, but it should only be about $600-700. It's like, really? There's like 700 hours that's gone into it.
Exactly. And I think the other thing we do is we develop now very niche and contextualized simulated organizations that pair with our resources. So I think we're up to about 7 different simulated organizations that we've developed. And that includes all the staff profiles, policies, procedures, mock business, website, all of that. So that alone for each of our simulated organizations, we worked out has taken about 250 to 300 hours just for the simulated organizations. And that's without then all the learning and assessment content for each unit. So yeah, it's a big job. So when we're deciding whether to write something for a new package, we don't take it lightly, because it's a big investment that we often don't get return from for sometimes a year, sometimes 2 years, depending on how long they want to play around with draft training packages.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a big part of it is people, when you've got something that's really well thought out, beautiful, well designed, just the thousands of hours that can go into, not, as you said, not just the actual writing of it, but the actual planning of it, and that careful thought about these are all the different components, that will need to be thought through as part of that. And it certainly makes sense why a lot of RTOs do really struggle with that, just from the time perspective and the, and the resources, and, you get in childcare, they've gotten 3 years out of something before they've had to go through that entire process again. So it can definitely be challenging. Obviously with the introduction of AI over the last couple of years, we're actually joined today by your AI note taker. Yes. He jumped in there before you did.
Yeah, he follows me everywhere to take notes.
How are you guys using AI? How do you see AI changing how we create, training materials and assessments moving forward?
I think it definitely helps with research at times for our ID team. We also like to use it now for snappy titles and those sort of things, and we're keeping an eye on the AI space. There's actually a conference later on in the year about AI in education that we'll probably go to see how see what else is happening. I think there's a lot of room for AI to be used in our e-learning and role plays and simulations and those sort of things. We don't like to use it to actually write content because it's not quite as good as a writer, and thinking about the learning flow, and also that we always want to produce original content, and it coming out of AI, you never know where we don't know enough about it, and so we get way more out of asking our bots the questions, using that to inform what we might want to put in the content, and then designing really useful activities, scenarios, infographics, etc., around the content that that the team have found or developed. Yeah.
And it can be really challenging because it's also then about being able to train staff how to utilize it and how not to utilize it. And yes. I know that when we're working with people all the time, we'll look at it and we'll go, that was done by AI, and they'll go, no, and we'll go,
yes,
it was, and then they'll go, yeah, it was. And we're like, yeah, it reads like it was done by AI.
You
when
can
you get
tell, you can
familiar with
definitely
it.
tell. When
Yeah.
personality changes throughout, or tone or styles changes throughout, you can definitely tell, yeah.
And when they get super lazy, there's the American spelling in there, and
Yes. Yeah. Or
yeah.
terms we don't say. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yes. So much training goes into everything we do. We've got cross team training and also specific training for each of our teams. So not only around AI, but just ensuring consistency in our design, consistency in how we think about the learner's needs. So we've got each of our departments meet weekly and talk about current trends, what's happening, are they facing any challenges, but also bringing in any useful articles and things like that. And AI has been something that our instructional design, our learning design manager has talked about a lot in those meetings this year. And then in our e-learning department and graphic design department, they have their own meetings about making sure consistent look, feel, style, and that we're making the right choices throughout e-learning and design of the learning content. Yeah.
And I mean, that's interesting, because that leads into the next question. Like, obviously, a long time ago, you started out as a family business. It was your mom and your sisters, but obviously, you've grown out now. You've got several different arms. You're one of the major resource and assessment providers. How have you gone about managing that growth and maintaining that quality? Because it's such a challenge to find staff that can perform the way that you want them to perform, particularly in the resource and assessment development sector. So how have you gone about managing that growth and building that culture that's going to support and facilitate that?
It's been a journey, and something that we continue to work on. When we started out Eduworks, so when we started writing, we always had a team of writers that wasn't internal. So we developed ways of, training the instructional designers that we worked with, reviewing and giving feedback, and also having a standardized, templates and approach has helped. But obviously all of that has evolved over time. One of the things, so we had a fair bit of growth. A lot of our growth in the company was fairly gradual from 2009 to around 2017, 2018, fairly gradual. So, you refine processes and templates and improve things over time. But then we did have rapid growth with a few big projects, maybe around 2021. And that just, when you grow quickly, you kind of just keep adding things in as the growth happens. And so that took me to the start of last year, where I actually implemented a system called the EOS system that's really helped with systemizing processes and documenting processes and making sure that we focus on our culture and our people, so that everyone in the organisation shares the vision, shares the passion, shares the why we come to work every day. And also, people know the approach and can kind of follow it through, because everyone cares and everyone knows why we're here, basically. Yeah.
And I imagine having the recruitment arm of the business obviously helps a lot with that, because part of that is your bread and butter of kind of understanding how to recruit and onboard, and so pair that with then being able to create a really positive culture is probably a bit of a winning combination there.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we got into recruitment when we did as well, because we were always looking on the lookout for good people to bring into our business, but we wouldn't always have the position within our team. So I worked with a few clients initially when I was setting up the recruitment section, and just was sending them good people that I found, and then it kind of grew from there by word of mouth, the recruitment side of things. And yeah, we put a lot into, before running this business, I ran an RTO, and it was always, it's difficult to find people with the knowledge and experience in this sector, and especially for instructional designers, especially for compliance people, compliance roles. So yeah, we saw the value really in having a really good recruitment process that doesn't leave you like starting someone and then finding out 3 months later that it's not quite right. Yeah.
And do you just recruit for like for the compliance and the instructional designer roles, or do you help RTOs like with admin and trainers and all of that sort of thing as well?
Yeah, we'll do all of those roles. So even contract trainers, we have a way to recruit them, and a certain fee structure for recruiting contract trainers, managers, CEOs, instructional designers, compliance personnel. So really any role, because they are all specialised. If you're working in vet, if you're working in an RTO, you need to have a background, especially at the senior level. So yeah, we saw really that need for a specialised RTO recruitment after I'd tried to work with other recruitment companies over the years to find RTO staff, and it wasn't ever quite right. So
yeah, just because you've been a manager before doesn't mean you can manage an RTO. I mean, especially in that CEO role, it's so different. It's such a different beast to anything else. I'm interested to find out from you, like, what do you think it is that makes a really good RTO manager or a really good RTO CEO? Like, are there one or two things that you really try to look for, obviously outside of experience, but are there certain characteristics or traits or skills that you look for where you kind of go, that's something that it's really important that they have that?
That's a good question. I think somebody that has the balance between like at the senior levels, has the balance between being commercially minded and also being focused on why they're there, which is to provide learning for students and vocational outcomes. So you want, working with a whole range of people over the years, you see all the different types of people that want to set up an RTO, and some of it's driven by funding and those different things. And when it's focused on, it always has to be financial when you're running a business, and setting up a new business, you're obviously going to be focused on financial, but you have to balance that with thinking about the students and the outcomes and wanting to focus on quality. So you don't always have to have that in the one person, as long as they've got also a good team around them, and they take on that feedback and input from the team.
It's interesting you say it doesn't have to be in one person. So I think some of the most successful RTOs that I've worked in have actually been like a husband and wife team, or like two partners, and one is always that quality sort of, but what about the learners and what about the people sort of, and then the other one's that very savvy, okay, but how is this going to work, and how are we going to make sure that we can finance this, and how are we going to ensure that viability? So having both at that, very much that yin yang, having both of those sides at that senior level, you're right, is so crucial to having an overall healthy operation sort of a thing.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes we do see that person that has both, I mean, it's probably more than sometimes, that they can be very big picture, very focused on the future of the company and financial targets, and then also wanting to really focus on the quality and good outcomes for students. But yeah, it often works. You always need a bit of a detail mind when you're working in an RTO, don't you? Because there's so much to read, interpret, know what's coming next. Yeah, so, but like you said, we've got a lot of clients that we've worked with over the years who do have a really good core team. It's 1 or 2 people, yeah, and it works really well.
And so I guess as a last point, kind of what are some of the, you know, having being in so many different parts of the sector and things like that, what are the things that you're really excited to see happening in our sector at the moment? Are there any things that you're seeing where you're like, this is going to be great, you know, like what's exciting you?
I think that, I mean, I know we've been talking about it for a few years, but the micro credentials and seeing more providers wanting to offer those small micro credentials for students is good to see. And it also creates an exciting opportunity around being able to offer, professional development, even in our sector, that can be recognised, because we've always had a lot of PD, but not always, but anyway, in the last few years, there's lots of PD offerings in vet, but you don't always know the outcome, what's happened. It's just a title on a certificate, whereas now we can actually know what that actually involved.
Like I put myself through this qualification, but what are the skills and what's the knowledge and the skills that I'm expecting that staff member to come out with, kind of thing?
Yeah. And was it a webinar that may or may not have been listened to, or was it actually something that person's invested some time in, put some assessment in there, and somebody's actually said yes, they can perform those skills. So I think that's exciting for all sectors, but I think bringing that into the vet sector, where people crave knowledge and updates, and we have a lot of things always coming through, but there's always more to know and learn. So I think that's exciting, and I think it'll be interesting to see how AI affects everything we do and how that will be brought into assessment. Video responses in role plays, and if AI is doing more of that, I think that will be really interesting. If we can get more technology around, accessible technology. I think, it's taken a while for RTOs or a lot of the smaller providers to really get on board with e-learning, and we're seeing most of our clients now do have an LMS. They want more than a PDF upload from like they wanted years ago. They want interactive SCORM, but now it'll be taking it to that next level where it's going that next level that's going to really improve the outcomes for learners.
Yeah, the Khan-Migos and the that interactive component that sits on side of it, so that you can ask it a question and it can kind of go, well, go back and take another look at page 6, or let's go back and take a look at this, or that more directional sort of interaction is going to be, I think it's going to be quite revolutionary, but it also obviously comes with a lot of risks as well, and so it's going to be an interesting space from an innovation and a regulation perspective, I think.
Yeah, and I think we'll have to stay on our toes to keep up with how we make sure that what we put out is using new technologies, and also making sure that whatever we build in, our clients can also access and use. But I think it'll be interesting. We'll have to stay on our toes.
Which we've always had to do in the vet sector anyway.
We always do that, so we're used to it. Yeah, yeah, we
All
are good
right,
at
so
that.
just quickly, I mean, obviously you will be launching with a brand new brand, which is very exciting, but where can people find you and Eduworks and the RTO Advice Group now?
Yeah, so well, we're eduworks.com.au is our site, and we've also got rtoadvice.com.au for our consulting area. We're not totally relaunching the brand. Will still be known as Eduworks. It's more we're just coming out with, you know, something to combine everything we do so that it's not RTO Advice, Eduworks, all the things. Yeah, so but I think by the time this video comes out, the website will reflect that, and you'll be able to find all the things that we're doing and offering at that website.
And we will make sure that when the video does launch, we will pop that in the video, pop that in the notes for everyone so you guys can access that there. You can also find Shashi on LinkedIn. You've got you're really easy to find on there and very responsive. So there's lots of different ways that people can get in contact with you. If you guys are looking for really good quality, especially like that online component, looking for something that's nice, that's interactive, that's enjoyable for students to use, highly recommend that you go and check out Eduworks. If you need any other support services as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
It was really interesting. Otherwise, thank you very much, guys. My name is Lauren from Anawaya, and obviously from the multitude of companies, the lovely Miss Hodge. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Lauren. It was nice to chat.